let's do some ADP review. Let's get it going with Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase as round 1 picks, and Devontae Adams also. He's 11th. So that's 4 wide receivers in round 1. I'm looking at Fantasy Pros, PPR, ADP, and that's what I've used every single year for this exercise. We anticipate it changing, but here it is. Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Devontae Adams. Stephon Diggs just outside the top 12. He's 13th overall in Fantasy Pros ADP. Any beef with the first 13 picks basically having 5 wide receivers, Heath?
And I'm usually more wide receiver heavy, I feel like, than ADP, but that's not the case for me. I've only got 4. I would not draft Adams in that range. So I think Jamie and I are on the same page on Adams, and we'd rather have Diggs than him, and we don't want to take Adams in the first. I don't really want to take Adams in the first 15 picks.
How safe do you feel with Kupp, Jefferson, and Chase as first round picks?
Extremely safe.
Yeah. I have zero fear about Kupp and Jefferson in round 1. Maybe like 5% fear about Chase.
How do you justify is the wrong word. How do you
I feel attacked?
No, not at all. This has nothing to do with you. How do you explain Cooper Kupp's season just being so much better than anything he had ever done? He was over 100 yards per game, 114.5 yards per game. The previous 2 years, he was at 70.8 and 72.6. He also had, listen to this, Kupp had a 31.5% target share. He had 35.7% of the catches, 40% of the yards, and 39% of the touchdowns. So he even outperformed his target share pretty dramatically. How do you explain it at, what was he, 28 last year? So does it just, I'm not going to call it a red flag, but he didn't exactly follow the normal course of a breakout, Heath. So what do you I know you're going to say Stafford, but go ahead and say it anyway. Cooper Kupp.
No, I think at first I would say Sean McVay. Like, he does things that generate incredible performances. Like what we think of Jared Goff now, and you look at the couple of years that Jared Goff have, and you remember Todd Gurley being 60 points better than any other running back, and you remember Tyler Higbee month where he was the greatest tight end that ever existed. I think it starts with Sean McVay, and then you include the upgrade from Goff to Stafford, and then some of it's just, we should not expect that to happen again. There's a reason career years are career years. You're not as good in other years. So it's probably some regression coming.
Well, yeah, I would agree with the regression part, but it's to what level? And that's, I think, how you have to view Cooper Kupp, is just how much is he going to come down. But I mean, we mentioned a guy already that I think is a pretty good case study, and there's certainly many more. Look at where Kenny Golladay is right now. I mean, obviously a lot of it is on him. But look where he went from. He went from Stafford to Daniel Jones. But
Golladay was
I'm joking. No need to explain it. But Stephon Diggs goes to Josh Allen, and look what he becomes. Peyton Manning goes to Denver, and look what Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker became. It's not just as simple as you're getting a quarterback upgrade. He gave you, a handful of scenarios here of why he got better, but it really could just be, it's finally getting with someone who's going to understand. Like, it was just the perfect setup. The quarterback came in and grasped everything that Sean McVay threw at him, and then it was, okay, we went from an 8 with Jared Goff or 7 with Jared Goff to a 10 with Matthew Stafford, and now all these things opened up in the offense. I mean, you even go back to what happened to Robert Woods in Buffalo and Robert Woods with Sean McVay. What happened to Odell Beckham the last couple of years in Cleveland, and then he goes to the Rams. It's this the whole thing coming together, the whole puzzle coming together. And so Kupp, as Heath has pointed out a few times, both you guys have pointed out, I think we all have, where he was a couple of times in his career before some injuries or just some things happened. Start of the season, I think it was 2018, 2019. Where he got off to such a great start and then just didn't finish it. It just all fell into place. And so, yes, he will not probably do anything close to this again because, look, he has a better running mate maybe than he's ever had. And that's no disrespect to Robert Woods or Beckham, but Robinson's, had some good seasons clearly. So, if he goes from, 439, as you see here on the YouTube screen, to, 410, 415, he's still
talking about fantasy points. Yeah. just to clarify what the 439 was, his projected fantasy points. Oh, no, that's what he scored last year. Sorry, that's what he scored. Cooper Kupp has now had 3 seasons in his last 4 where he's been top 10 per game in non-PPR, top 11 per game in half PPR, and top 15 per game in full PPR. He's had 2 top 7 seasons. He had a pretty underrated career before this. I guess you mentioned Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs last year was the number 10 wide receiver per game. Pretty, he wasn't a bust, but I think he was a little disappointing. And Josh Allen had a worse season as a passer than he did in 2020 when Diggs, had a better year in fantasy. Diggs is exactly what concerns me with Kupp. And it's our job to have some concerns, right? I would take Kupp number 1 at wide receiver. I'd probably take him 4th or 5th overall. But Diggs is what concerns me because there wasn't a logical explanation for it. He just was worse. And that could happen to Kupp. So, it just makes me say, let's not overdraft him. But, you know what I mean? I can't give you...
It's a fair point because...
It's going to be worse. He's just going to be worse. Regression.
It's a fair point because the targets were almost identical for Diggs.
Right.
It was 166 and 164.
Allen was worse. And that's, I just think the passing game will probably take a little bit of a step back, because...
Well, the biggest concern, obviously, is Stafford's elbow right now.
Sure. Right.
And I think I made this comparison on HQ yesterday. There's some comparisons you can draw between the first 2 running backs and the first 2 receivers. Taylor, Young, ascending. Jefferson, Young, ascending. They feel safer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Than Kupp because of Stafford's situation and McCaffrey because of his injury situation. So if you are a little bit concerned, there's certainly a great fallback option. And so it's easy to see Jefferson passing Kupp this year because, as we're all well aware, the coach who was part of the staff is now the one calling plays. Staff for Kupp is now calling plays for the Vikings, and Jefferson entering his 3rd year. You noted this, Adam, for the guys in a lower range, but I mean, I've done this every year. I've worked at this place. 3rd-year receivers. There's always guys that even at a peak level can take a next step. It could be a career season touchdowns for Jefferson on top of what he's done. There are certainly ways for him to still get better. So if you are concerned about Kupp, and clearly there is concern as we've seen the ADP get closer, then take Jefferson. It's 1 and 1A for me. I have no problem taking Jefferson over Kupp. Okay,
so just to finish up round 1, you guys are fine with people taking Jefferson over Kupp, but what if they took Chase over Kupp?
No.
I'm not close to that yet. Stafford would have to be guaranteed to miss time.